Look, Moses teaches God's laws. A new husband stays home. Then return the pledged garment. A poor worker is paid before sunset. Now leave forgotten grain sheaves. Leave olives for the widows. The judge watches the punishment. Do not muzzle the ox. Look, she removes his sandal. Use only just stone weights. Next, bring firstfruits in baskets. The priest accepts the offering. Finally, plaster the great stones. Build God's altar without iron. The tribes stand on mountains. All the people shout Amen.
Look, Moses declares God's blessings. Then the golden wheat multiplies. Your dough bowl overflows daily. Now heaven opens sweet rain. Finally, terrified enemies run away. Look, disobedience brings brass skies. Then green locusts eat crops. An iron yoke brings captivity. The captives serve wooden idols. Severe fever strikes the body. Remember, your shoes never broke. Now the woodcutter stands listening. Beware the dark poisonous root. Then the land becomes salt. Look, slave ships return. Secret things belong to God. Look, God gathers scattered people. Then God changes your heart. The command is not heavenly, nor is it across seas. Now choose life over death. Look, Moses is very old. The leader cannot cross Jordan. Then Moses blesses brave Joshua. Next, he writes the law. The priests receive the scroll. Now they approach the tent. Look, the cloud descends. God warns about future idols. Then Moses writes a song. Place the scroll beside Ark. Finally, Moses speaks the song.
Moses speaks words like rain. Look, the eagle carries young, but the people worship idols. Then God holds lightning swords. Holy fire shines from Sinai. Joseph receives rich heaven dew. Now Asher steps in oil. God spreads his protective wings. Flying arrows miss the righteous. The faithful trample the serpent. Next, Moses climbs Mount Nebo. He sees the promised land. The great prophet finally rests. God hides the sacred tomb. Then weeping Israel mourns Moses. Now Joshua leads the nation. Look, God encourages brave leader Joshua. Then Joshua commands the armed officers. 2 spies approach the walled city. Angry guards strike the heavy door. Now she hides them under flax. Look, the red cord brings safety. Then the spies climb down the rope. Finally, the scouts report to Joshua. Now the priests carry the golden ark. Their feet touch the rushing river. Look, the mighty waters stand up. the nation crosses on dry ground. Then men lift heavy river stones. The holy priests leave the riverbed. Finally, the river waters crash down. Joshua builds the stone memorial altar.
Now Israel eats roasted grain. Look, a divine warrior appears. Then Joshua removes his sandals. The priests march around Jericho. Next they blow ram's horns. The massive crowd shouts loudly. Look, the thick walls fall. Then soldiers rescue faithful Rahab. But Israel flees from Ai. Joshua weeps before the ark. Look, Achan hid stolen silver. Then stones cover the thief. Now hidden warriors wait quietly. Joshua points his sharp javelin. Next, build an unhewn altar. Finally, Joshua reads God's law.
Look, they pack moldy bread. Then strangers show worn shoes. Israelites eat the dry bread. Joshua discovers the Gibeonite trick. Now they draw well water. 5 kings surround Gibeon city. Then Joshua marches all night. God throws massive ice hailstones. Joshua commands the bright sun. The sun stands perfectly still. Look, kings hide inside caves. Soldiers push heavy cave stones. Northern armies bring wooden chariots. Then Israel burns enemy chariots. Fire destroys the Hazor city. Finally, the conquered land rests.
Let go of all your anxious tomorrows and leave behind your future sorrows. Find the peace this moment holds so true. Each day enough for me and you.